In Palestine, a new Israeli military operation in the West Bank left 5 Palestinians dead. Israel's Zionist government rejected a proposal for the Palestinian organization Hamas to release several of Israeli citizens. And in Japan, authorities registered over 48 people killed following a 7.6 magnitude earthquake that struck the West. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Palestine, at least 5 Palestinians were killed Tuesday in the West Bank amid a new Israeli military operation against the Palestinian territory. Israel's defense ministry reported that its soldiers shot dead a man in the middle of the raid. Hours earlier, another 4 Palestinians were reported killed in the midst of an armed raid in the northern West Bank town of Hassoun. The 4 deceased were identified as Walid Radwan, 18 years old, Qusay Jamal Adwan, 21 years old, Iyad Beita, 22 years old, and Mohammed Abdel Fattah Radwan, 29 years old. During the military operation, Israeli forces conducted raids and searches of homes and businesses, seizing surveillance footage from multiple stores. Israel has intensified its nighttime actions in several cities in the Palestinian territory. Israel's Zionist government rejected a proposal for the Palestinian organization Hamas to release several of Israeli citizens taken by the resistance since October 7th. Israeli media cite several official sources who confirm that they have received through the intermediary of the Qatari and Egyptian mediators a 3-phase proposal stipulating the release of hostages, even if Tel Aviv maintains its attacks on Gaza. The first phase provided for the withdrawal of Zionist troops from the enclave in exchange for the release of 40 hostages and some Palestinians kidnapped in the Hebrew country. The war cabinet rejected the proposal and asked the mediators on Monday to work on a more acceptable one. On Monday, the Palestinian resistance confirmed the launching of barrage of rockets towards Tel Aviv during New Year's Eve. The Al-Qassam brigades, the military wing of the Hamas movement, fired dozens of M90 rockets in response to Israel's massacres against civilians in the Gaza Strip. Videos posted on social media showed a projectile falling on the occupied town of Ramla, southwest of Tel Aviv, and rockets flying over the Iron Dome system. According to Israeli media, 13 of the 27 rockets launched by Hamas overnight were fired from an area north of Gaza that Israel claims is under its control. Also on Monday in Palestine, the Hamas resistance movement refused to release more hostages without assuring a permanent ceasefire by the Israeli occupation forces. The leader of the Palestinian movement, Hamas in Lebanon, Osama Hamdan, indicated the priority of Hamas is to stop the aggression of the Israeli forces in Gaza. For this reason, there has been no talk of an exchange of hostages until the fighting ceases. Likewise, Osama Hamdan denied the news published by the Israeli media that indicated a possible release of Hamas hostages in exchange for a 1-month ceasefire by Israel. Likewise, the Secretary General of the Islamic Jihad movement in Palestine rejected any possibility of an agreement with Israel to exchange prisoners without stopping the aggression and the withdrawal of the occupying forces in the Gaza Strip. The Palestinian presidency rejected any suspicious attempt to displace citizens of the Gaza Strip. In a statement issued on Monday, the Palestinian Authority condemned the United Kingdom for naming former British Prime Minister Anthony Blair in charge of the displacement operation of Palestinians from Gaza. The document described the decision as a violation of international law and legitimacy, with the only objective of serving the interests of Israel. The note also urges Secretary General of the United Nations to do his most to prevent the British decision and accused the measure of completing the Balfour Declaration, which led to the catastrophe of the Palestinian people and started dozens of wars in the region. On Monday, in the Palestinian city of Jerusalem, local authorities received a shipment of vaccines against childhood diseases from the Rafah border, crossing with Egypt. The Ministry of Health informed that the vaccines have been procured by the Palestinian National Authority and are sufficient in number to cover the needs of the population for the next 8 to 14 months. It also specified that once in Gaza, they will be used in accordance with international standards for the conservation of vaccines and under the supervision of UNICEF. On the other hand, the Ministry of Health appreciated the cooperation shown by the Egyptian Ministry of Health in the conservation of vaccines to allow their transfer given the serious epidemic situation caused by current armed conflict in Gaza. The director of the United Nations Children's Fund announced that more than 1,000 children have lost their limbs as a result of the constant Israeli bombardment of the Gaza Strip. The entity indicated that the health crisis and the lack of medical supplies in Gaza forces doctors to amputate limbs without anesthetics or painkillers, even practicing them outside health facilities. He also condemned that although the children are stabilized, they are still at risk of death due to the continuous attacks by the Tel Aviv regime. The organization's spokeswoman warned that the patients and wounded are suffering from extreme pain and asked for food and water to be sent to them. Israel's Supreme Court overturned on Monday the amendment to the basic judicial law which had been passed as part of the judicial reform pushed by the government of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The decision was approved by the Supreme Court by a tight vote of 8-7, becoming the first time in Israel's history that a court nullifies basic quasi-constitutional level law. On the other hand, the court upheld by a vote of 12 the court's prerogative to review laws passed by Parliament, including basic laws such as the one that in July repealed the so-called probable cause law. This judicial reform had been the reason for months of protests against the Netanyahu government, which the opposition accuses of totalitarianism and undermining the division of power. Let's now take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back from the south. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Monday that Ukraine is not Russia's enemy, but those who seek a strategic defeat of the Eurasian country. The president made the statements after Ukrainian shelling of the Russian border city of Belgorod caused 24 deaths on Saturday. Speaking during a meeting with Russian soldiers injured in Ukraine at one of Moscow's military hospitals, Putin said strikes on the Russian border city of Belgorod that killed 24 people, including 3 children, and damaged in 30 apartment buildings were a terrorist act, and warned of more strikes on military facilities in Ukraine.
It's a targeted attack on the civilian population. Of course, this is a terrorist attack. It cannot be called anything else. Should we respond this way? Of course, we can. We can hit squares in Kiev and any other city. Denise, children, mothers with strollers walk there. I understand. I'm boiling over myself. I want to ask you, do we need to do this? Hit the squares? Of what they are doing. They want firstly to intimidate us and then create some kind of uncertainty inside our country. Undoubtedly, such crime, and this, of course, is a crime against the civilian population, will not go unpunished.
Russia began its term as pro tempore chair of the BRICS group to promote associative cooperation in politics, security, and economics. Russia pro tempore presidency is assumed under the slogan of strengthening multilateralism for equitable global development and security. Russian President Vladimir Putin assured that the state will also ensure the promotion of cooperation between the countries at the cultural and humanitarian levels. The Russian head of state pointed out that he will also work for energy and food security and the implementation of national currencies in trade. In this context, the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, confirmed on Monday the incorporation of 5 countries to the BRICS group, bringing the total number of members to 10. The organization, formed by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, also counts now with Egypt, Iran, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Ethiopia as new members of BRICS. The announcement is one of the first actions carried out by the Russian president as president pro tempore of the international organization, thus attracting more supporters. The president pointed out that they will work in the category of these two partners in three key areas, such as politics, economy, and cultural contacts. In Europe, around 30,000 migrants crossed the English Channel from France to the United Kingdom in an irregular procedure in 2023. UK authorities report that the number of cross-channel migrants has fallen by more than a third this year, the second highest since 2022, which saw a record of 45,000 migrants. For its part, the main Labour opposition points out that the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has not fulfilled his promise to stop migrant journeys, and they denounce his migration policy as chaos. Meanwhile, Sunak's government said that $610 million agreement signed with France to prevent the crossings is beginning to bring results. Pope Francis presided over a solemn Mass for the 57th World Day of Peace on New Year's Day. The Supreme Pontiff's speech recalled with gratitude the countless initiatives of prayer and commitment for peace promoted by ecclesial communities on all continents on this day. The Bishop of Rome also referred to the conflicts taking place in various countries of the world and invited all those present at the celebration to reflect and pray unceasingly to promote ways of peace for humanity. The Church dedicates this first day of the year to the Virgin Mary, and for this reason Pope Francis dedicated his Angelus message to all women and mothers, emphasizing that in them we can find the peace that the world needs.
The world needs to look to mothers and to women in order to find peace, to emerge from the spiral of violence and hatred, and once more see things with genuinely human eyes and hearts. Every society needs to accept the gift that is woman, every woman, to respect, defend, and esteem woman, in the knowledge that whosoever harms a single woman profanes God, who was born of a woman.
In the Netherlands, thousands of people braved the wind and waves on a chilly New Year's Day during the annual celebration of the Nieuwjaarsduik, which translates as New Year's plunge, in the coastal town of Scheveningen. For the first time since 1960, the traditional New Year's plunge was held at a place other than the beach in front of the courthouse, as the boulevard is under construction. The location was 400 meters south near the Building and Sea Museum. The organizers reported that this year they had a record number of more than 65,000 participants in various plunges all over the country. Last year, some 50,000 people participated in 143 dives across the country. In this regard, locals and visitors expressed their experiences with this New Year's tradition. We have now a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the South. This January 1st, Cuba celebrated the 65th anniversary of the triumph of the revolution with various commemorative events. At Santiago de Cuba's Santa Efigenia Cemetery, the people paid homage to the revolution's historical leader, Fidel Castro Ruz. On the other hand, the Cuban Guard held a ceremony to show its gratitude to the Commander-in-Chief for his high contribution to the nation's definitive independence. The event was presided over by the members of the Central Committee of the Cuban Communist Party and the Governor of Santiago de Cuba. Earlier on Monday, Cuba held its traditional military ceremony for the 65th anniversary of the triumph of the revolution, which included the firing of 21 artillery salves. The detonation began at 12 a.m. local time on January 1st from the San Carlos de la Cabaña fortress located in the city of Havana. As usual, the capital's population attended the ceremony to celebrate a new anniversary of the revolution led by Commander Fidel Castro, a process that made possible the beginning of a transcendental change in the life of the Cuban people. brought the awareness and certainty that a very difficult stage was coming, full of new combat challenges and difficulties. And after the British ship HMS Trent left the Atlantic coast on Sunday, Venezuelan Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino wrote on his social media X that the Bolivarian National Armed Forces was withdrawing its units from the Gulf of Paria, but remained alert and vigilant in the face of any provocation. Padrino's message read, given the departure of the British warship HMS Trent from the disputed waters, Commander-in-Chief Nicolás Maduro has ordered to move to a new phase of the Cifontes joint action exercise and to withdraw part of the air-naval resources to their respective bases. Likewise, he effusively congratulated the Bolivarian National Armed Forces personnel members of this task force who responded to the call to defend the homeland. We will remain alert and vigilant against any provocation while we hope that the Aragao agreements are respected, which today are undoubtedly a guarantee of peace in the region. The Finance Minister of Honduras, Rixi Moncada, presented on Monday her resignation to aspire to the presidency of the Republic. Moncada made her decision known through a publication on social media. In this sense, current President Xiomara Castro also announced changes in her government cabinet. In the text, Moncada expressed her gratitude to Castro for her commitment to the people and communicated her desire to participate as a candidate for the presidential candidacy for the Free Party to continue with the mission of refoundation. She also communicated that Mauricio Ramos will be his running mate in the next elections at the end of 2025. Moncada's resignation to the Finance Secretary is effective as of January 1st. Authorities in Japan reported on Tuesday that at least 48 people were killed in the 7.6 magnitude earthquake that struck the west coast of Japan on Monday. According to authorities in Ishikawa Prefecture, 20 fatalities were confirmed in Suzu City, 19 in Wajima City, 5 in Nanao, 2 in Anamizu, and 1 in Hakui and 1 in Shiga. The previous death toll was 30 in addition to numerous injuries. The earthquake was felt over a wide area from Aomori Prefecture in northeastern Japan to the Kyushu region in the southwest, forced the suspension of bullet trains and knocked out power to more than 32,000 homes. Tsunami warnings were initially issued for coastal areas in 5 prefectures, but the wave did not reach the height that was feared. It was the strongest earthquake since records began in 1885, according to the Japan Meteorological Agency. The head of Guinea's ruling junta on Monday says a constitutional referendum will be held in 2024, a key step toward the return of civilian rule after seizing power in a coup. Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, who has ruled the country since ousting the first elected president, announced the vote during a year-end speech late Sunday. Although he did not give a date for the referendum, he promised a constitution approved by the people and which is not a copy and paste, but a constitution that draws on the past to build the future together. Doumbouya also said that the state appointees will soon be appointed to head the municipal councils, which were elected in 2018 and whose terms end in the first month of the year.
Au cours de la nouvelle année,
in the new year, a new constitution will be put to the referendum, one that reflects us and brings us together, a constitution approved by the people that is not a copy and paste, but one that draws inspiration from the past to build our future together. A special delegation will be set up throughout the country to continue the considerable efforts to restore constitutional order by organizing free, democratic and transparent elections from the bottom up, in compliance with the 10 points of the transition timetable.
Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our social medias on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.